How are we, my people? Chapter 8 next week. Chapter 7 this week. Chapter 6 last week. So we are moving in a sequence, what I would call a series, people. Really good. The awaited chapter of my dad's wedding. We've already built a very, what I would call a plain sailing conversation about my dad. So you already know who my dad is. You already know his background. He was very humble. You already know growing up in the Church Missionary Society, and that plays a very big part in his life. Muchimanyi ekyo nabagamba yazimba amakanisa asatu, 3 churches. That thing was a very big statement. To him personally, it wasn't anything to aggrandize about. Anyway, so many events have happened along the way, shaping his direction. How he ends up in Bukalasa Agricultural College, how he gives up his football career. You know, being chosen for the Young Cranes in 1962 meant that he was on the pedestal to go far in football. But he would play a very keen part in football later on, behind the scenes. Beba Gaga, I'm going to give you the Billionaire Syndicate. Syndicate, you have a billionaires in 1980s, people. But in the 70s, you know, he picks up from where he had left. And he does great things vis-a-vis taking on a very leading role in business. When the government changes, the Idi Amin government, that is going to bring us to the coffee boom, the winners and the losers. Mwenye coffee marketing board, kakati awe tujokuba how he ends up as a very, very astute industrialist. You know, buying shares in different companies, setting up shares. You know, where with you, hata innocent what was called. They don't do the donkey work. Bo ateka sente mu kitambula. Twaine ebima byemwanyi bimeka amafamu sijui Dairy Corporation here Jemula. It used to be called Uganda Dairy Limited before it became Dairy Corporation in the 80s. Yeah, but we're talking of the 70s now. Anyway, let's jump in. Kegus, give us the story. There's a lot of excitement. People want to know. I've always talked about this wedding. You know? Those who don't know these things, let me tell you. Back in the day, Abainanga Center, what they would do, they put up a national gazette. There was a gazette in Uganda Argus, the newspaper, that my dad was going to get married to my mom. My mom, being a Muslim, it drew a lot of attention from the Muslim community. It's very, very hard for people to understand this. Naye omwana w'obusiramu w'obuwala ebiseera ebyo okukyusa eddiini, because my mom had to change the religion to Christian, which meant she had to go and study some, you call them religious courses, catechism, something like that. Then she was baptized. Formerly, Mariam Nasanga to Victoria Knight Kianda. Those were the names when she got married. Gemanya geafuna. Mufuna bulungi nnyo. Naga tutereze emboozi eno mulayini mutegere ebigendo, the ramifications of all this and how they play side by side. Are we good? Okay, that is 1971. Because it took about 6 months of preparation, putting things together. Remember, the wedding is on a short notice. My dad has been put under pressure. Chanda you kuwasa 90. Manyi kati gino gy'emikwano, friends. friends, the Mengo Boys Club. Yalimu abantu bangi nnyo Boys Club eyo. Nakati ate my dad is going to be the first, among the first to do what? To get married. Bana abato, they want to settle down. Bamaze okukola sente bazitambuliramu. Kati a lot of lessons were being learned from my dad. Mikwano gye balabanga bingi nnyo byakolanga ebirungi, of course even the mistakes. Kati mistake number one eriwa, of course ebeera mu kucakala ng'omuvubuka, olya swaga, oguze emmotoka, okola kino okola kiri. But the good thing, my dad was investing as well. Atandise okuzimba amayumba, agula amataka left, right and center. That is in his first job. Mumengo Growers, principal, chief, financial auditor. Omulimu gulimu emirimu ena. So he was being paid 4 times. 4 times. Ng'ate ali 22. Kati come 69, nga bwe nabagamba, 69 is going to be very much a time that my dad falls in love with this very beautiful woman. Basikana mu Susanna. Kati ebyedda ba contestants tebyalimu nti no, like you had to put yourself out there to be known first of all. And at the end of the day, all the finalists were more or less like winners. The finalists of Miss Uganda 1969. Then they pick one of them to be Miss Uganda. But buli omu mwa rolo, buli omu afuna Miss contingent, Miss what, everything. Miss tourism, Miss what. So that is going to lift my dad out of, I would say, it kind of pushes you up. Ku myaka 22 n'okwananna lulungi w'ensi, you are really up for I think abamanyi olina sente. Okay? Now what comes next thereafter? Kakati ne bachakala nnyo, having a good time, mubasiba mu delight, mu cinema, bakola ebintu bingi nnyo, from work. And that's how my dad meets my mom. Naye mu kumiitinga maama wange yasooka kumiitinga ani? Mukulu waabwe, Auntie Joelia. She's about 6 years older than my mom. Okiraba? We did this chapter last week, but fast forward, basomera kati awe Namirembe. My mom was in Namirembe senior. Mama Razi ali old Kampala. Kati Joelia nga ali mu bibye naye nga ye mukulu. So what I'm trying to say is bonna tata wange n'abaleeta ne babeera mu nnyumba emu. Ennyumba emu ku ziyali azimbye ekyebando. You know what I mean? So nga bwe mumanyi bino ebintu ensi bwe ebeera etambula. He's single, he's young, he's everything. And he's made a name. He must have been very impressionable to people. My dad. Kiraba kati buli bwe yajjanga awaka ekyebando, yajjanga n'omukyala oyo omukyala Miss Uganda. Era ne mu kumbaga omukyala ajja, she's there. Kubanga mu bifaananyi omulaba waliwo pate yaliwo awaka, bonna abawala ababeera mu nnyumba abaaliwo. Remember, he has 3 houses, he has this, he has that, everything. Kati I think that's the time my dad and my mom are having an affair. Let's call it that. Kiraba? It is a generational crisis. At the end of the day, when my mom falls pregnant, that is the precursor to everything. It sets in motion a direction of his life, vis-a-vis the fact that his friends as well are going to play a very, very big role. Kubanga bagamba Simpson, that's my dad, bwabagamba aba Uncle Patrick bani abo ba Uncle Sally Sam Sally ow'emmotoka z'empaka bani abo n'emikono kati yogera Mengo Boys Club namugamba amanyi Simpson Night muwase ate mwana muto ate nga bila bintu bibaawo. Let me tell you this. My mom was very impressionable, very young girl, and kati ebyedda omwana w'obuwala when she came of age mumutegeera awo sijja bigendamu biri that's it. But when a woman comes of age back in the day tekyalinga very unusual ne ku myaka 14 oba 15 oba 16 omuwala okufumbirwa oba okuva awaka. Otiraba, my grandmother had yazaala mama wange. No, my grandmother yazaala taata wange ku 14 years old. 14 years old. So we are talking of 1947. Okuzaala taata wange. So kino tekyali very unusual. Naye naye yali 22, 23, 24. Kiraba. So by 25, when they get married, that decision has been brought together by so many forces. Kiraba. Because at some point, if he is in a situation like that to commit, nagala mumpeyo omwana wa 24 today. Omwana wa 24 today ayinza okutula wansi n'agamba nti ngenda kukola mbaga. Taliyo. Baba era mukusonderera. Sijui bitalina taliyo simulaba. I don't see okukola ekintu nga muzeewo nti yakola. Now, those who wanted to know, now I'm telling you nti bali kyebando bonna. The three sisters, Auntie Sarah, Auntie Joelia, Mama Lazi ne mama wange. Mama wange ye muto. Kiraba. So they had a connection. Waliwo ekyabagatta. So behind the whole situation as it was, they become romantically involved. Kati lwafuna olubuto, my mom becomes pregnant. Kankyogera bwentyo. But everything must have been in the making. Do you know what I mean? From being in love with a very, very beautiful woman. Kubanga omukyala oyo nalulungi oyo waaliwo ne sikando mu Susanna Night Club. Nga waliwo minister ayagala omukyala oyo. Minister must have been in the 30s. Yeah. Around that time. Kubanga cabinet ya Amini wena baali mu 30s, late 20s. Kati ne wa clashingira. Kati mu Mengo Boys Club bonne bakiraba nti they always looked out for each other. Era balina union, a unison, they were hobbies. Tusomye fenna did kyanda va ku mukazi oyo. Ate ng'omukazi yali amukoledde ebintu bingi nnyo. Kubanga sente taata asooka okukola empitirivu ennyo. Yazimalya ku mukazi oyo. Yamuzimbira ennyumba Gogoma n'amuteekerako n'ennyumba endala. Kuba mumanyi Mukalazi construction oba akyaliyo simanyi. Yatandika mu 70s nga akwata projects z'abagagga. Nga yabazimbira amayumba g'abakazi baabwe, your girlfriend, ebitali byonna nagala mufunira nnyumba. Remember, kati abaana aba coming out, I'm telling you the new elite, they were coming of age. Bayingira mu ssente. Leero bwe mulaba Kyanja ng'akulaakulanye, bwe mulaba Sugi, Namanve, Sugi, ebifo bye muwaana ennyo ebyo, those nice places now. Ne mu 70s bwe bitu byalinga. Kubanga tife tugenda okubeera Kyebando. Kyebando was a suburb. Tuli ku eka 45 waliwo ne farm. Kyebando waliwo Musdalen. That's where our house was. Ziriwo ennyumba 3. Yes. ye ebintu bino byalingayo ng'abaana babikola ate nga bato. Ati we are proceeding. My dad must have been pushed to make that tough decision. Kiraba waliwo ekintu kyolaba nti kigenda kudestroying, I would say, not because nti omukazi tomwagala, but ebyetoolodde omuntu oyo ne bw'onookola ki, the forces will come from outside. Ye omukazi yali amwagala naye era baasigala ba mukwano ne bakola ebintu bingi nnyo, njabbi bayitira mu maaso eyo, bakola bonna Pepsi Cola, whatever, things like that. Naye omukyala ya moving on. Gyali nagamba gyali akaddiye, she's old now, she's an old lady. Naye bakunyumize omukwano gwe baalina n'abantu bye baalabako, bagamba nti yali love naye ate ng'ejja kubeera toxic. Kati the word goes out. Uncle Patrick Kiwanuka he carried the burden of breaking the news. Kiri kiyiike kakati era byayiikira mu mawulire. Today you have social media. Ngabera announcement my dad is going to get married. I have a Mango Boys Club are preparing. So preparations begin in full force. Embaga yaliwo mu April, banzala mu June. April, May, June. My mom is pregnant. Hey! So the rest was on. She had to begin her classes in Namirembe. She had to be baptized and given a name. Kiraba, they have to start preparations of the wedding. Bagenze Kenya. Mu bagagga b'e Kenya. Bakolayo emikolo gy'amaanyi nnyo. Just select like 10 people. Kati mwenye sente bwebeerawo, sente ekola ebintu birungi nnyo. So the prenuptials and everything ebisookawo, prenuptials era gye bakolera shopping y'engoye zonna, engoye zava London. Mukwano gwa muzeeyi wange Charles Njonjo yalina gagga e Kenya, bamanyigana mu byeyo bya cooperative kubanga byali East Africa. That's how you kind of meet people. Nga nze bwe nasomera e Kenya, I have many nengamba nti nyaze Kenya. And the alumni catch up with me. No, Patrick, we need to take care of you. So that's what. I'm in Norfolk Hotel. Bakola shopping, bagula amasuuti. Olwalina James Sekamate agenda okubeera ki best man. James Sekamate nayo nzaalo ya Kitagobwa. Basoma bonna ne muzeeyi wange. They go to school together. Ewampeewo. Sorry guys. They go to school together. Ewampeo, senior secondary school. Now I don't see him featuring in Mango. He must have gone another direction. Although when they all come of age, Matanso Okola, he was a frequent visit at home. Orongandika Kato. Even before they get married, after in Nairobi, my mom begins to drive when she's 16. Imagine when I was 16 mu 1972 ng'avuga emmotoka. Bino ebintu byali first of a kind. Buli kimu kye baakola nga kyali fast. Kati we batandise okwekola ne muzeeyi wange the beginning of the year. My mom now officially she's moved in as a girlfriend. Oli amuzimbidde ennyumba enajja nankumbi, nyumba nnungi nnyo eringa yaffe ekyebando. Same plan. Naye ebintu muzeeyi wange byakolanga mwana nze ebimu bintiisa n'okuntiisa. I just get neewuunya. But I think he his soulmate. Era ebintu byakola thereafter byali astronomical. You know, because she had to be a homemaker first. Kubanga at 16, 17 azadde, then n'azaala sister wange, n'atandika okusoma. N'addayo n'asoma, yasomeranga Kenya mami. Ng'akomawo buli weekend. Alinnya Nyonyi, Uganda Airlines. Bufoka, bwabeeranga wawe Kololo airstrip. Bwono bwalandinga, waliwo ennyonyi ezaalandinga nga Old Kampala ku lusozi. Yes. Naye bijjamu Ame 79, Paul Mwanga, Uncle Paul. Ng'alina zino zi Bell whatever, helicopters, muzimanya ezo? Abakake nabo baazirinyanga. Walingayo private companies ezaki? Ezaba Yugoslav. Nga bali nabo nga bakola ssente. They were making a lot of money. Akati tugenda ku mbaga kakati. Olwo kakati the who is the who to be invited has learned of this wedding because it was in the official gazette and it was in the news, the Uganda Argus newsprint. Ne ku mawulire. Kakati olwo muzeeyi Musisi in quotes. Later on now we are going to come to that chapter. Akwataganye ne mutabani we. Of course, quote in quotes, kyentegeeza nti yali mwana mujja na jina. You know, it was a secret in the family that my dad had another father. But because of the achievements my dad was doing, it kind of, every parent likes to be proud of whatever they are doing. Kiraba mukiraba kyentegeeza kaakati era kino ekintu kyewuunyisa nnyo. My dad mu 72 ng'akwata maama we jjajja n'afuka ng'amuleeta London ku shopping. My jjajja, she was very young as well, you know. So if she had my dad at 14, and now my dad is 22, 23. So she was in her late 40s, early 40s. Ng'amuleeta London for the first time, akole shopping. Naye nga, you know, mwine ebintu mubimanyi kakati. I think my dad struggled with one thing, to prove who he was, because he knew who his dad was. Kati otandise okukula naye nga taata we embeera teyamutwala bulungi. Taata we nga munaku, durufu lubega ku kitagobwa okwo. And he wanted to do something for him but he couldn't because no, Musisi yamuliko nga taata we. So like stepdad, you know that thing, that conflict. And you're not being told the truth. Nenga, you know the truth. Which comes back in 1990 when they read the written will. He was exposing all the family secrets, you know, that they hadn't told him about. But he knew. You know what I mean? So let's carry on. So the wedding, Silver Springs Hotel, 1972. It was a very, very exclusive hotel. Connected with the Ruzira, nga waliwo ekideeri. There used to be a ferry that brought in tourists along Lake Victoria from Kenya or Tanzania. It docked at Luzira Harbour, then they come to Silver Springs Hotel. Okay, as things changed later on, it came under the Uganda Hotels. But, you know, that's all going to happen at the end of 1972 when there is the economic war, which began with the expulsion of the Asians. Then eventually, of course, we had the Israeli raid on Entebbe and all those kind of things. I mean, things that take place thereafter, 72. Mufuna bulungi nnyo. So the wedding was set. The location Silver Springs Hotel. Kiraba olwo baali bakagulawo International Hotel nga bagita Dr. Apollo Milton Obote bye nabagamba bi grandiose projects yagulagulangulwawo ebintu. The hotel there where the Sheraton today was just like a country inn. They knocked it down, then they brought in other areas behind our Grand Hotel. Demeter Grand Imperial yaliwo nga colony. It was the colonial enclave there. Kiraba. So the best thing at the time was Silver Springs Hotel. But because of the overwhelming interest in attending that wedding, it was arranged that from Namirembe Cathedral down to Kampala Road, which was decorated courtesy of the mayor Olusimbi Mpanga. Hey, but decorating a Kampala Road. Yeah, bino ebintu bituufu. Nagala tudde mu mpeeyo omuntu decorating a street ena n'agimalako Kampala Road. They serenade the event. Photo shoot yali mu Afro Studio. Ebifaananyi ebyo nawo bitono nnyo ebya Afro Studio byali bingi n'ebyennamirembe ebimu bimisinga. So after the photo shoot, there was a gallant drive. Abantu abatasobola kujja ku mbaga at least beerabireko n'amaaso. Baana bato. Or my mom is 16 years old. My dad is 25. Chinabagamba nti balina age gap ya myaka 10. But they were young. So from along the Kampala Road, they drive all the way to Bugolobi, Luzira. Olubagenda kuyita ku kyuma kya gundi ky'emmwanyi Coffee Marketing Board Bugolobi, yes. Imumanyi Luthuri Avenue waggulu ne Bugolobi. Ezo zonna nnyumba zaali z'aba staff, senior staff. Twalinayo ennyumba. That part is coming. Kakati ne bakola arrangement wait. Reception yali ya who is who. Kiddemu reception yali ya the who is who. Ne bakola after reception, gyemuyita after party. Erugogo Indoor Stadium. Band zaali bbiri. There was a band called the Cranes Band and there was a band called the Small World Band. Omwe mugenda okuva band ya Suicide eyo gyemugamba militarized whatever mechanized ebiri mu Sarah Amini. That part is coming. Mumbaga exactly mirror image eya mzee wange Amini n'agikola mu 75. Despite having, I think he had 3 wives at the time, na Maringa Sarah yali mwana muto. Sarah Amin during the OAU summit in Kampala. Mfuna bulungi nnyo. Kakati on the day of the wedding, of course word had reverberated left, right, center. Amin nga ajja Namirembe. Baali bafuluma nga bamaze obbagatta n'abaaniriza n'ababuuza na he was happy. I mean, he was always happy to see good things. Then later on najja newa ne Silver Springs Hotel. He was a frequent guest or visitor. He used to like swimming because the hotel had a nice pool, and that would explain later on lwaki yakola a cape gaba. Waliyo amaka g'Amin amalungi ennyo gatundira bwe gati mazzi. Kati nawulira gundi yagulayo yani muwala wa Museveni alinayo ennyumba eyo waliwo Amin. Kati binanana byalaba during ku mbaga ya mzee wange. Mutegera bulungi nnyo n'abyegomba. Ye yalabanga ebirungi n'awasa Sarah Amin mu 75 and Sarah Amin was close to my mom as a friend. Tebajeeringa nnyo. She was only first lady for 4 years. Era kyannuma nnyo bwe nzija wano ku London mu 2000 nagendayo ku East African restaurant naye nga tamanyi nali kaana kato yali tantegeera nakuntegeera, so I couldn't really talk much with her. Ate ebyaliwo byonna nga omanyi kati kuno ku Bulaaya people nze bwe najjira generation yali kuno bo baali bajja dda bajja mu 80s, so pretty much you're talking of about 20 years kati gwe bakulabanga eyakajja naye tenategeera nze kuba naye sizze wano kusabiriza bantu no nze wano ku shopping. That's the time I come for the shopping. The girlfriend mwala mulungi nnyo gwe naye kati abantu babeera bakutya kati nze abantu bantegeera luvannyuma nnyo nga nkomyeyo nga student wano nsula mu apartment nvuga gwe bampuuza nti gwe kikolota sente ozijja nanajja ne sente zange have my money sajja wano okunoonya ki sije kunoonya obuddamu no era nzirayo 4 years. Okay, today ku story yaffe kakati nga mu evening ayitirawo ku mbaga just brief neyeeyongerayo mu bibye. Yes, embaga negenda mu maaso kati ngenda bawa drama kakati ebyedda biri bwe biti. Of course Miss Uganda finalist abeera ne access baba basala cake omukyala n'avaayo agenda aweereze cake daddy ku reception table. Nange my mom looked down, looked up, she couldn't believe what was going on. Naye omukazi I think she was doing it out of courtesy, out of being polite. Bakazi bannange mumbuli, can you do this kind of thing? Kati that would explain nti ono omukazi yasigalayo mu shadows era mami agenda okuyingira ekintu kino yali akimanyi nti wadde kyandanjagala. I think this woman is going to be around. She's going to be a constant. She's going to be a shadow. Era baclashinga bati my dad was at the table, they were cutting the cake. My mom walks away and goes and sits and leaves my dad with the ex-lover. Hey, kakati bo abaali bamanyi ebintu bino ba Uncle Patrick especially, they were left gobsmacked. Nenga, of course, they had been the power players behind the marriage. Bayagala nnyo mama wange as the right person for my dad. Era gye bayita emikwano. Olina alaba ekinaga nti no, this person is going to add a lot to you wadde mwana muto. Kakati olwo ndiro mami yali lubuto. Era ne ku reception yaddako erugogo. She didn't last long. She just went and checked into the hotel. Nga olwo asigazzayo emyezi 2 anzaala emi. Embaga enjagibamu part 2. Embaga yali so much sensational nti it was on tenterhooks. Kakati sinyamba nyumiza na kano. Abasiraamu b'ekibuli, the Muslim sheikhs, the Muslim clerics were not buying the fact that my mom was changing religion from Muslim to Christian, and there was a bit of a clash there. My mom's background was strongly Muslim. Butambala. Era my first memories, or what I would say, my mom's early childhood. She begins school in the madrasa. Do you know what a madrasa is? Muslim school where you go learn the alif, bet, you know, the alphabet and all those kind of things. And that would explain why she was very, very good in shorthand when she did her secretarial course. banga typewriter tatutundirayo n'okuwandika shorthand and everything. So by the time they come to Kampala, nga bwe nabagamba nti when my grandfather on my mom's side divorces my grandmother, they move to Kampala. They migrate. My mom was about 10 years old. 10 years old. So in 6 years of her life, she was driving. In 6 years of her life, she was staying in a bungalow. Uganda Clays, Amategula, Uganda Clays, sitting because we had about 4 servants at home. Ngali teenage 16, 17, 18. So kati embos. So they are going to begin a family life together, a settled life together. My dad is working. He was working big time and making money big time. But I think my mom was always aware that this woman is behind. She was in the background. Nze kyenkakasa kyemmanyi, my dad oyo mukazi yasigala akyamwagala. Although of course things change and you can slow down the momentum of things, but my mom was young as well, and I wouldn't think she had a lot of, she didn't have a lot to lose now. Kati yali omukyala omufungo, she's the first lady. Chita bwotyo kyekimu nekya Amini bwawasa Sarah Amini. Sarah Amini became the official first lady of Uganda. What about the other women? Mutegera ebintu bino ebintu biri complicated. It's not like love, it is more than love. So my mom is now a housewife for the interim period. She returns to school in Uganda. Then around 74, 75, she begins to study in Kenya for about 2 years in the East African Civil Service College, which was now part of the East African Community, which was founded by the 3 member countries. Kiraba ekintu ky'obote kye nabagamba era ayagala agatte union erimu ba Nyerere ne ba Kenyatta. Kiraba, so things were being done together, but this is going to be affected in 1977 when the union breaks down. Tetunatuuka yeeyo, let's not jump. So after the wedding, there was a honeymoon in Nairobi and Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So I always asked my question, what was the relevancy of Ethiopia in my dad's life story, particularly my mom? From what I understand personally, my suspicion is my grandfather is of that descent. Nsumagire is the name he always talked about, but the Sediabane name, and then Zaidi, the Muslim name, Zaidi Sediabane Nsumagire. Why I'm asking myself this is that he always retorted, or he could go into a certain, he would switch off and talk a language that we couldn't understand, that sounded more like Asmaric or Amharic. Even his hair was curly. What I would suspect is like, my dad was very smart. He was always very smart. He must have zeroed down when they are talking. Mugamba nti nerayika musajja mukulu si muna Uganda. Musajja mukulu alayika nti mugundi. mu Ethiopia ne mu Misiri, something like that. Yes, even when you looked at my mom, she was light-skinned with long curly hair, like Asian hair. Mumanya envi z'abayindi empanvu bwe ziti. So bye ebimu ebiri bisa byenyizo bagamba naye tibya, but they went on honeymoon in Addis Ababa. So when she comes back, they settle down and begin life in Chebando. Hey, Chebando agenda kunyuma. We had frequent visitors. We had lots of people from our family. Our residence was a 2-in-1 residence. Zali enyumba bidi mwemu. Can you imagine? Is it like that today? Mve kuvya boys quarters. Ngambe nyumba bidi. We had lots of people who used to come in visiting, and we had the main house, our house. Omwana alina bedroom ye. Like me, I had my own bedroom. Nganchali mwana muto. 1 year old. Nina ekisenge kyange. I have my own bedroom. Self-contained, everything. Vinakula ndaba, good things. It has even been to bigamba want to in the 70s you have flushing toilets. Twabina na generator waka. Bamusanyalaze. Neka pump cameras. We used to have water, national water. But we had the pumps. Bamas. We bulamu bwenzijukira Chebando. Tulina abakozi bangi bayoza engoye ebite. So everything growing up, from my memory, was more like a military operation. But my dad was 27, 28, doing all these things. Tukazabelanga mu luggya, 3-4 cars, kombi, esomba ebisagazi n'ebikuta by'ente. Kombi, Volkswagen kombi, transporter. Mami alina emmotoka ye. Her first car was a Datsun. My mom's first car was a Datsun. You can see her in the pictures. At that time, my dad had sold off the earlier cars. Zize bajjanga mu gundi mu hire purchase. Ngakafutandika okufuna omulimu e Mengo. So he was not driving a Mercedes. Kati amini abayingiza ekintu kyasooka okukola n'importinga Benzes. Naye wabula deal we gye baakola yali y'amaanyi nnyo. Daimler Benz Mercedes. Kubanga bagabira amachachi, bagabira all institutions, bagabira ba ministers, nga every civil servant ku senior role alina okuvuga Benz. Yes. Byanzijukira mu 70s. Kati bwe mpulira bino ebyabayindi nti abantu bagwa mu bintu by'abayindi, no, nze sibimanyi ebyo. Okay, biyinza okuba byaliyo naye nga our family was very, very well placed and privileged. Okiraba? Kati, let's first dwell on something here. 1970, 71, 72. But 1970 is very critical because my dad is now, within 1 year, he had done so much and achieved so much. Until by 71 January, bajjako Obote. So that meant that everything that was in the common man's charter kind of falls in the doldrums. And that was another year as well. The Kabaka is returned, having passed away in the UK. That really haunted my dad very much. And I think it must have played very much on him. Kubanga bali Namirembe baziika. It was a very sad moment. Kati my dad was successful, and looking back, I think he was imagining where he was if it hadn't been that connection he had made or that impression he had made towards the Kabaka, and the Kabaka had guided that for him to get that bursary scholarship to Bukalasa. He wouldn't be where he was. And of course, Mengo Senior School wasn't. Yali somebody abalangira. Naye omwana wo sijja muyita mu copy, you know, my dad is commoner. That's what they mean, commoner. Naye it shaped his life. Naye nekimu omanyi what can happen to you when things just don't add up? You are humbled. Yes, he was going out with a very beautiful woman. He was having a good time. So when things changed, when things came around, when he begins a relationship with my mom, it pretty much was setting his life towards the direction of what? Of marriage. Settle down. Yensi gye tubeeramu. Kabaka nga bamukomyawo nga bamuziika. But we can see really what is playing a very big role in my dad's life. And one of the after things he does was to build a church. Echebando St. Paul's Church. Echebando ku Lusozi. However, ku byali bigenda maaso mu Uganda later on, in the 80s tujja kutuuka waawo. N'azimba St. Peter's Kalituns era ekyebando eri ne tugivaamu. Omanyi bino ebintu bibeerawo, bintu kati ye yali akoze ekintu akikola just naye kyayingiramu ndowooza ebyawanvu awo yesitegeera naye nga we shall come to that part. And then my mom, although she was Christian now, but she was still practicing. Era awakazi zigundi ziyidi zabeerangawo, there used to be Eid festival, there used to be Mauledis and everything. Well, from her side there are many. And her house was always an open and welcoming place. Kakati, the who is who play a big role in my dad's wedding at that time are his friends from Mengo, the Mengo Boys Club. And of course, having been the school prefect or head prefect, head captain, head boy, he had that leverage. Era tewali yayagala kumisinga mbaga ye. There are notable names there. Mwalimu gundi, abamawulire, the news people came, Uganda Argos, Uganda TV. They might have something in the archives there, if they have kept any. Banga mujjuka ebyo nebyalingawo Radio Uganda ne Uganda TV gye basukanga kuba bintu ne babyocha. Yes. When they overthrew, Radio Uganda ne Uganda Television ne bayokya ebintu. So there's something Oboto Komawo, there's something Oboto Kuvaako, there's something, Museveni Kuja. So I wouldn't bother. There was the mayor of Kampala, Honorable Olusimbi Mpanga, Sam Collins Sally, rally driver, yali mukwano gwa muzee wange nnyo. Bangi nnyo bendabye mu bifaananyi. Mwami Nsereko, bangi nnyo. The who is who. Abo bakomawa ku reception to Silver Springs. Then the after party was open to all members of the public. Rugogo nejjula bweti. Indoor Stadium. Kati. And that is later on going to be part of his circles. National Council of Sports, ngali mu bya KCC, nzuka twagendangayo mu meetings zaabwe ez'omupiira. My dad loved to be part of football, but he didn't want to be involved in it. Okiraba? He didn't want to be involved in it. Uncle Patrick yali ayingidde omupiira ng'ali actively involved. Uncle Patrick kati, okay, we are going to come to the business, but I'll call a business. Kati, my dad is going to leave the job in West Mengo yaguleka. I think it was a very, very good job. Naye gwalimu internal politics mungi. The Uganda Cooperative Alliance and all the shenanigans. Later on, they break up. West Mengo, East Mengo. Then it was chaotic. Nfuna bulungi nnyo. Naye kakati olwo nga tutandise okuyingira ekintu ky'abayanga eritsi balaba nti they can do better. They can take over. Kiyite bwotyo, take over. Bagenda kuyingira emmwanyi kati muzeeyi wange nga buli kimu ekyo akitegeera bulungi nnyo. It was good. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. Kakati that is how things are going to begin. That is how my mom, the greatest mother, you know the story already. Kubanga buli omu ambuuza naye mama nga yali mutonyo. Mama yali mutonyo. Even the latter pictures. Kubanga bwe nabeeranga ne mama wange balowooza nti nze ndi mutowe. We are like brothers and sisters. Yanzaala ali 16. And that is the main reason. She was pregnant, and with all the circumstances going around my dad's life, it seemed to be the perfect thing to do to settle down and marry my mom. My dad is 24 going to 25. So there's a big age gap there. That it is realistic. It's not like my dad was 50, my mom was 20. No, it was just something like that. And the story be told, there are lots of memories about that wedding. There's lots of memories about that day as well. It wasn't a state occasion. It wasn't an official occasion. It was just a billionaire wedding day at 24 years old. And they lived their life together. Twalina amaka malungi nnyo ekyebando. Master bedroom, self-contained, wardrobe, walk-in closets and everything. Mu 70s, mu Colors Construction yazimba ennyumba yaffe. Mukazi owe Bukoto gwe muwulira Bukoto. Yazimba ennyumba yaffe. Yazimba ennyumba zaali 3. It was a construction. Later on he goes into roads. Kati bamuzeeyi bange bamukwatako. Bantu bo bayingiramu n'ebya politics. Mukalazi yali mu bya politics. Of course, to get those tenders and everything, you know, you lobby and all that. You lobbying yingira politics. Politics of, you know, politics. Mumanyi oyo go politics. Abagagga bangi nnyo baali mu Kampala awo mikono gya muzeeyi wange. Oba Uncle Paul Mwanga, baani bonna. Naye nga behind the scenes era wabaayo abantu boba okolagana nabo. You get me? So kakati the story, that's the story for this week. Our story now is gonna set in motion other things to talk about. So those who have always wondered about my family yaffe yali ya bbeeyi nnyo. Nabanyumiza Draper's house, Draper's building. That's where they used to do the shopping. Mami buli weekend nagenda Nakasero. Akatale ke Nakasero tekaali tekagulwamu muntu wa bulijjo. Kaali kabagagga bakyala baabwe ku weekend. Atambulyako akutte ebikapu. Houseboy. Kusadde okukola shopping. Kati oluusi mu katale buli kimu wasanga bakiparkinze dda. Then you go down to Ugantico supermarket, Sebagala. Then nemudda ku kirala kyonna nemugenda okulya ekyennyanja. Byenzijjukira mu 70s. Era byonna bijja. Awo bamuzeeyi baffe batandise okugaggawala. And of course the political instability also begins and ebirala byonna, you know. So tugenda binyumya byonna tubitegeere bulungi nnyo buli omu amanye exactly the unknown. You've already seen the unseen pictures of the wedding. Embaga buli omu abadde agyogerangako bwogezi bakola embaga y'amaanyi. Ebifaananyi tubirina, ebifaananyi byaliyo ebisinga baabyokya, batubba mu 80s, enfunda zaali nyingi nnyo, twalina seefu awaka. We used to have a cache of money. Nga mikwano gya muzeeyi wange, omanyi kati biseera ebyo the unrest and everything. Awo tugenda kutuukawo. We are going to get to that chapter, the 1981 to 85-6 guerrilla war. Bani abaluteekamu ssente gye bali si abaayita bakakamega whatever. No, that is eyoba mboozi. Me I have the facts. Binali nabirabanga nga babikola, nabeeranga mu meeting ne Lord's Pub awo e Kaleerwe, Halfland Kansanga. Mumanyi alina nyini Kansanga Halfland mumumanyi? Mwe mwalabanga Nalongo naye waaliwo era abaaliwo biwanvu Udao. So that is it, Kegus storylines. Ababuuza Regina story ngiwandiika. It's a manuscript. Naye ngena kugireeta ngibanyumize bulungi nnyo kubanga eri about my diaspora life here, the sweetheart romance with Regina the Croydon beauty. Kati byonna ebyokulaya kuno byebiri mu story eyo. So I thought it wise to shelve it, then bring it as a retold story. Mukinyumirwe, mutegeere ebiki ebyaliwo. Ngenze mu America, nayagala omuwala mu America omuzungu. Omuzungu yayitagudde eddalo. Mwe musanga n'ensi temunnalaba. Ensi erimu ebintu bingi nnyo bye mutannalaba. Naye nenkomawo wano nenzirayo, nenkomawo Uganda, ate muwala wa General, it's a quagmire. It's a total mess. Naye olwo nali 20 something. Anyway. Byebyo, emboozi teba nkadde, emboozi banyumye. It kind of keeps you alert. Okay, people, mbagala nnyo.